Hello there, my name is Charlotte Baumfather and this is CB Documentaries. I am a 12-year-old islander and this is why you need to start to worry. Some of the most gorgeous places in the world may be impacted very soon by a devastating matter: rising sea levels. Part 1. I've lived on small islands for the past 5 years, since I was 8 years old. I know how it feels. Guernsey, Sark, and now Mauritius. Yet, in a century, those names could be non-existent to you. Mauritius is an island of paradise, white sandy beaches, bursting with wildlife, and most importantly, surrounded by a lovely crystal blue sea. Yet, that sea may be all it has within the next 100 years. As in Mauritius, 3.8mm rises in their sea level a year have been recorded since 1988 to 2014, and from then it's only gotten higher, with 4.7mm rises recorded from 2015 on. The effect has been devastating, especially for those who live on the south of the island, in a small village called Rivière de la Gates. It used to be bursting with life. Now the sea roars as it is swallowing this innocent village. Part 2. Rising sea levels is a problem and an issue all over the world, with rising sea levels swallowing countries a little at a time every day. I want to make a change. Travel is one of the most amazing and important things to me. And I know soon half the most beautiful countries in the world I won't even get to see, and you may never get to see them either. Islands, cities, towns all need your help. This matter can also greatly impact society. People rely on seaside towns to live in, yet their homes may not exist soon, and from there, there's nowhere to go. Part 3. Hawaii, an island of beauty, wildlife, plants, and sun. Oh, and of course, the Big Blue. Hawaii is one of the US's 50 states, and is known for its hula parties and stunning nature. Yet it is in trouble. Over 70% of Hawaii's coastlines could be affected by rising sea levels. It was the first US state to declare a climate emergency. In Maui alone, it is said that over 85% of shorelines have been getting smaller. Many people's homes and businesses will be greatly affected, with 20,000 residents living in remote areas, with the highway as their only access point to shops, restaurants, hospitals and schools. And, as you guessed it, that highway is sinking. It is expected in Hawaii that over $19 billion could be spent on climate action in the future, which is huge, especially for a little island. The Maldives. A bucket list estimation for many. Yep, will you ever be able to cross it off? The Maldives is made up of over 1,200 islands, 1,100 of which are coral islands, made up of cities, resorts, villages and more. But the Maldives has an issue. It is the lowest lying nation in the world, which makes it perfect prey for rising sea levels. According to NASA's sea levels, over 80% of the islands could be uninhabitable by 2050. That is less than 30 years away. Maldives also faced a huge coral bleaching in 2016 that wiped out over 60% of their coral reefs, making them even more exposed to the ocean. At the COP26 conference, the Maldives was the talk of the town. It has been stated that if we do not reverse this trend, the Maldives will cease to exist by the end of this century. Half of the country's national budget has been set aside to fight this issue. Yet, will it be enough? The islands that local Maldivians live on will be most affected, not the resort islands. Therefore, will you be taking a helicopter next time you want to visit? Finally, we have the Caribbean. Just hearing those words makes people smile. The Caribbean is one of the most beautiful places in the world, made up of over 700 islands. It really is the perfect holiday location. But of course, rising sea levels is a massive problem for the residents of these islands, as over 70% of the population lives by the sea, and unless they are 3 meters above sea level, they're at risk. The Caribbean has lost 18 to 30 inches of their beaches within the last 10 years, and sea levels in ports have gone up by 2 to 3 inches from the year 2000 onwards. Those who live on the islands of Antigua and Barbuda should be greatly affected, as major flooding has been taking place within the last few years, not helping with the sea level rise. Part 4. Rising sea levels is of course a man-made issue, with people polluting the air with greenhouse gases, which makes the world environment warmer. Therefore, glaciers and icebergs melt in the Arctic, and the sea expands due to the heat. The islands are often the ones who cause the issues for themselves, yet it is not entirely their fault. As islands are so small, they can be in the middle of nowhere, and sometimes finding sustainable ways to do everyday things can be difficult. Therefore, they have to stick to ways that harm the environment, and something really does need to be done about it. Part 5. Of course, the clear issue when it comes to rising sea levels is the ways that cities and even countries are being swallowed by the ocean, and scientists are doing everything they can to help. Scientists are incredibly worried about the sea level rise and have been studying glaciers and ice in the Arctic for a very long time to back up their statements. They have said that coastlines are in a large amount of danger, and scientists have been using satellite to monitor the changes around the world. It has been said that in Africa and Europe, there's been a rise of 20% more than anywhere else in the world. And we have to explain that, says Anne Cazavi, an ocean geophysicist at the International Space Science Institute. There are many ways to stop rising sea levels. For example, planting more plants as they soak up rain, and using stones for patios instead of other materials that the rain soaks into and then bounces and causes erosion. Part 6. Rising sea levels is of course a massive issue, and so there are loads of companies and organisations helping with the matter. The National Ocean Service has been providing lots of reports and information on rising sea levels, along with the Sea Level Rise Foundation, a charity set up to help out low-lying areas or small islands by attracting attention to the issue. The company is based in the Seychelles and was launched at the first Global Island Partnership Strategy in 2007. I personally find that currently we are trying our absolute best to deal with rising sea levels, but perhaps more doesn't need to be done, yet the ideas need to change. I think that as we looked at the Maldives earlier, I talked about how they'd lost a lot of their barrier to the ocean, the coral reefs, and so I think that we need to find a new sustainable way to create more and help out the coastal and low-lying locations. Finally, before we finish off, I wanted to talk about rising sea levels relation with the Sustainable Development Goals by the United Nations. Rising sea levels directly relates to 2 or perhaps 3 of the sustainable goals, with number 13 being climate action, number 14 being life below the water, and number 15 life on land. This rising sea levels connects to these, as of course they are all about how rising sea levels connects to these as they are all about how climate action is making an effect on life below the water and life above it, and of course is showing how rising sea levels will affect the two. Now that's going to be all for CB Documentaries today. Thank you very much for watching, and we hope to see you next time.